Yo, what is up everyone? Today we are starting a new series called Skillset Saturdays. So every Saturday we're going to take one specific skill and we're going to see how to train that skill effectively so you can add it to your skill set. And the first skill we're going to talk about is aiming. And an aim is probably one of the most important aspects of Fortnite competitive. Aim is probably the most fundamental fighting skills you can train. It is also important for mechanics. So if you don't have good aim, you will probably have bad mechanics as well. Because you're just going to miss all of your edits, you're not going to be as consistent. And if we're talking about aim, the first thing I got to talk about is Aimer7's guide on Kovaaks. And this is one of the best guides out there. I personally used this back in the day to train my aim, and it helped me an insane amount. Like, this is actually the best way to train your aim, by far. If you don't play on keyboard and mouse, and if you don't play on PC, then you can't buy Kovaaks. But I gotta be honest, if you're not playing on keyboard and mouse and on PC, you might as well quit the game if you're trying to go pro, because it's probably not going to happen. You need to play on a good PC and on a good keyboard and mouse. That's just the truth. That's the biggest advantage you're going to get. And you also don't want to train your aim in aim labs or anything else, just Kovaaks. Kovaaks is the number one thing. Kovaaks is a must-have. Now this guide has an intro, and eventually you will find like scenarios you need to train. One is specific for your tracking aim, so if you want to track opponents. The other is for click timing, which is basically flicking to an opponent. And you also have, I guess you have target switching as well. That might be thrown in here and there, especially more in the later routines. As you can see here, there's more switching routines. But tracking and click timing are the main things. And then you also have a complete routine. You can pick whatever you want. I do recommend click timing for Fortnite especially. That's one of the best ones. That's what I picked back in the day. The complete routine if you don't pick the click timing. I don't recommend that you only train your tracking, because you do want your flicks to be good. I will leave a link to this guide in the description of this video. It will be the first link. Just check it out and follow it step by step. You're gonna see that it takes a couple of weeks, even months, to go from one level to the other. You will notice that Aimer7 recommends that you play one single routine at a single level for multiple weeks at a time before moving on to the next level. So you begin as a complete beginner, and then you will move on to intermediate beginner, so on, so on. But your aim is also supposed to get better and better. Like, as you can see in my Kovaaks, you see that I got like top 800 out of 130,000 players participating, like a top 1% in multiple scenarios, top 1%, top 2% maybe. Top 1%, top 1%, yeah. Like my aim in Kovaaks is pretty good. Like, it's better than it's ever been. Even back in the day when I used to grind super hard. Right now it's better than ever. But my aim in-game is not that great. So what I realized is that Kovaaks is not the only thing you gotta grind. So back in the day I used to play a lot of aim duels, but I have a very good map that also works. It's a Raiders map, the V5 map, and it's actually a very good map. Like, it has a ton of very good scenarios. So you see all of these targets. Like, this is basically what aim duels looked like back in the day. I know my aim is not insane right now. I'm not really sitting ready for it and everything, but it's fine. But you gotta check this out, and you just gotta play like a bunch of these scenarios, test them out, because most of them are pretty good, and it's basically a substitute to Kovaaks. So this is, for instance, like, you're not gonna see anything like this anywhere else. Like, this is basically what you do in Kovaaks as well. Tracking an opponent. You can also aim for the head, whatever. In terms of how many hours you should practice, Aimer7 recommends that you spend maybe 1 to 3 hours on Kovaaks. And I do think 1 hour a day is the bare minimum. So 1 hour a day. This routine usually takes about 1 hour. If you can see, like, let's say this one, for instance, 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 25, 40, 50, 60, 70, let's say 80 minutes. So it's about an hour to 1.5 hours. If you play all of these scenarios for at least 50 minutes. You can also play a bit less depending on your time schedule. If you don't have a lot of time to play the game, then maybe play less of Kovaaks. But I do think now that in-game aim training is also important, if not as important. So yeah, you should definitely play this map. You could also play aim duels, maybe but then you need another opponent that always shows up, and that's kind of hard to get, unless you have a teammate that also likes to do aim duels. Now, in terms of your sensitivity, like, I have a very low sensitivity. This is 1600 DPI, by the way. so not 800. But I have 2.4%, which is still on the lower side. Lower sensitivity is easier to aim with, that is why I use it. Fortnite especially, like you have all of these other mechanics, right? You have building and editing, and you might want to do fast flicks to build a box or something. And you gotta be able to, yeah, flick 180 at least, or even 360. You gotta be fast, right, with your mechanics. So you can't have the slowest aim. So it does hold me back a little bit, especially when people are shooting from behind. I gotta flick back like quick. Like, yeah, so it might be easier to aim with, but it is probably harder to build with. Like it's much easier to build and edit if you have a higher sense. So, oh yeah, so one of the things I used to do is I used to have an even lower sense than this. But what I used to do is I started out with very low sensitivity in Kovaaks and in game, of course. You gotta, by the way, you gotta go to your settings, of course, and go to your sensitivity and adjust it to what it is in game. If it's not the same, you're not gonna have the same improvement. I think right now I switched back to 2.4% in game. I lowered it a bit, so I guess I gotta change that as well. Make sure you train with the same sense. Yeah, but what I used to do is I trained my aim on a very low sense. And then eventually, when I got used to that sense and I was super good and I just had incredible aim, I switched my sense a little bit higher. So I went to 2.5% for instance, and then I trained my aim again, right? And then the next day or maybe next week, I'll switch it a little bit higher, just a little bit higher, and then eventually you'll have a sense that is good for you for aiming because you're kind of used to it. Like the small percentages of the small increase in percentages, they don't really affect your aim that much, but they will affect your mechanics eventually. So you will have better mechanics after you switch to a higher sense, most likely. But that's what I did, and perhaps I will do that again. I'm actually kind of doing that again. So I was hiring my sense for a bit, but I realized my aim is not that great on 2.4% yet, and I still want to keep it on 2.4%. So keeping a lower sensitivity for some better aim. But just like with any other skill in Fortnite, most people know how to train them. It's just a matter of putting in the hours. Like most people are not grinders, and that is why they're not improving. Like if you watch this video and you know you need to play Kovaaks, I recommended you the routines. You go in the first link in the description, you buy, not buy, it's free. You go to Aimer7's guide and you just follow it step by step. Most people are not going to spend 1,000 hours in Kovaaks. Like I can show you right here, 860 hours in Kovaaks already. I mean, it's not, like it's not the most, it's not like I'm breaking a world record or something, but I've put in hundreds of hours in Kovaaks, and I used to play like 1 hour a day, and like now I have 800 and my aim is, a lot better than when I used to play. Of course, I've taken a very big break and like my aim still needs to warm up again and get better, but if you put in the hours, if you actually grind, then you will improve your aim and your aim will just be fantastic. Like what I used to have in my mind was I wanted to just achieve the human aimbot. Like I wanted to have, like I was thinking, okay, why could you not just hit headshots every time? Like there's no reason why you shouldn't hit headshots every single time. If you just have an amazing aim, you will just hit better shots. And for a game like Fortnite, which is a shooter game, of course, aim is one of the most important aspects of the game. Like out of the thousands of people that watch this video, there's only going to be like 10 or 20 that actually train their aim every single day. And if you are one of those players, then your aim will improve and you will out-aim everyone else. It's just that simple. Let's not overcomplicate it. If you just put in the hours for many months or even years, then your aim will be one of the best. Now I hope you take that advice, and if you like this video, then please leave a like. Also leave a comment, like a positive comment, a W or something. I really appreciate that. Now keep grinding and I'll catch you in the next one, boys. Peace!